You'll always be.
We will stand and fight here. We can't stay here alive. Then let us stay here dead.
So, Richard Pinchers is known as the Lone Rat and has no friends, and that's why he's actually asleep. So I'm going to wake him up.
Really hurt.
Welcome to podcast 7, everybody, and started with a bang. And we're going to talk about Operation Compass, which also starts with a bang, doesn't it, Richard?
That hurt. You could have pulled your punch. Yes, absolutely. Lots of bangs.
Lots of bangs. We're also here with the Desert Fox, also known as the Vustenfox.
For fuck's sake, get the name right. Come on, it's the Desert Fox.
Yes, the Desert Fox. And anyway, so Operation Compass, Richard. Is your arm all right?
No. Medic.
He'll do anything to get morphine. Now, the point is, it was Britain's first major offensive victory. But there'd been a victory before that in the sense of the Battle of Britain, hadn't there? So it's like a second blow for Hitler, really.
Exactly, yeah. Dunkirk was sort of a victory. We got 300,000 men back.
Yeah, a celebrated withdrawal, I'd call it.
Tactical withdrawal. Yeah.
Glorious withdrawal.
The glorious Operation Dynamo.
Yes, great. So, Richard, Desert Dispatches, we're on episode 7, but it's brought us some quite interesting things, hasn't it? We've as a duo sort of established ourselves as what?
The comedy desert historians.
The comedy desert historians, yes. Obviously, one of us is more funny than the other. But basically, we've had some bookings this year. We're in 2026. Just take us through where we're going to be appearing.
So you can catch us live at the White Horse Show and also the Victory Show.
Also, you can catch Richard and I occasionally on stage in our own stage shows, but we are planning next year to bring Desert Dispatches to a theatre near you.
Your country needs you. Let's be Kitchener.
Brilliant. The few who haven't seen the first 6 episodes of Desert Dispatches, and to set the scene for Operation Compass, we need to look at the strategic background of what's going on. Now, Britain stood largely alone after the fall of France in 1940, and Italy entered the war. So
Italy was a previous ally, but after Hitler was doing so damn well, he decided to throw his lot in with Herr Hitler. And then so Italy entered the war in June 1940, but Britain has already got a small protectorate force in Cairo, looking after their interest in the Suez Canal through the 1936 Anglo-Egyptian Pact.
And we had quite a small force there, didn't we?
36 of General Wavell's best professional forces, actually, in the Western Desert Force.
36,000 or 36?
Yes. 36,000 in the Western Desert Force. 36 really good soldiers that made themselves look like 1,000 times a man.
And they weren't just Brits, were they?
No, Australians, 4th Indian Div, that was our Commonwealth.
And both those divisions actually were to play a significant part in Compass.
100%, as were the cherry pickers, the Hussars.
Huzzah! So we have a small, mobile, professional, multicultural force of soldiers. The Italians have advanced. They've got their 150,000 men. They go towards Sidi Barrani, and then they actually stop. They stall, don't they? What a mistake.
What a mistake to make.
Yes. But they are in Egypt, aren't they? Hurrah!
55 miles into Egypt, and they dig in these huge defensive camps, just as if they were in World War I still.
Yeah, and they feel good about themselves because they capture, but no one's there, Sidi Barrani, don't they?
Yeah. Exactly.
And give us a flavour. What is Sidi Barrani? It's on the coast.
It's one of these small coastal towns. I mean, at the time, there's only one metal road, one tarmac road in North Africa, and all these small coastal towns, they have no real consequence. The big deep sea ports of importance are Tobruk, Tripoli, Benghazi, Alexandria, and Port Said.
And those are the ones that really the Allies and the Axis want to own.
They covet those because they're deep sea harbours, and it's the best way to get resources offshore quickly.
Right. When we talk about the Italian camp, right, it's actually a group of them, isn't it? Rather like a domino outside Sidi Barrani.
Yeah, they are...
Domino dots.
To put it simply, they are in an arrangement that's far too far apart. So the British soldiers would be able to drive through them unnoticed. They are that far apart.
Yeah. And this was the sort of throwback you feel from World War One tactics.
Well, they spent far too much time digging in. The desert battle, if you listen to a previous episode, it's a dynamic battlefield. You're not fighting for towns, for bridges, for rivers. There's nothing. It's desolation. It's literally an open desert. So you're not trying to capture land. You're trying to defeat your enemy and attrit the armour and the infantry.
So let's just get into the planning of Operation Compass. Do we know why? No, hang on. Do we know why it's called Compass? Obviously not. I don't know why.
Who thinks of these names? Who thinks of operational names? There's a list you're meant to choose from.
Yeah. Well, Churchill had this thing, didn't he? That it had to be a Roman name, or it had to be something that was...
So what about Operation Mincemeat? Where's that come from?
Yeah, no, there is mincemeat. That's very strange.
Lightfoot. I mean, Lightfoot.
Thunder. So, Richard, let's get into the planning of Operation Compass, which actually started as merely a recce, didn't it?
Yeah. So the idea was Wavell suggested to O'Connor and Krieg that to go through and to push Allied forces behind enemy lines and to gauge their strength. It actually turned from a recce into a rout, which then became Operation Compass.
And I suppose you could say it turned into a rout because of the British advantages. And they were...
Well, they were professional, they were fast, better trained. And Wavell actually was able to make Mussolini and his generals believe that the Western Desert Force was 2 or 3 times bigger than it was, which would have been comparable to the Italians, which is possibly why the Italians thought, we're going to give up now.
And do you not think that the emergence now of the Matilda tanks had something to do with it?
Yeah, you do love the Matilda tanks.
I do actually. I'm becoming to become a bit of a fan, although...
Waltzing Matilda, who come a waltzing Matilda with me.
I can't really see that waltzing and tanks being put together.
No. So, we've been reinforced with more cruiser tanks and more Vickers Mark 6s, but the Matilda 2s were a much better tank, although they've still only got that little pea shooter.
Yes, the famed 2-pounder, which we've been talking about. But at least the British have got the 25-pounder and have amazing artillery, don't they?
Yeah. 3rd Royal Horse Artillery, they were the 25-pounders. The British artillery was known to be very good and actually respected by the Axis.
So the strategy that was basically planned out was really to push forward and see what happened. There wasn't a phased battle plan, I would imagine, because it was just going to be a reconnaissance, engage with the enemy, and then see what happens.
Yeah, take prisoners. So the defensive camps that the Italians had only had like one rear entrance. So literally the Allies were knocking on their back door, and this is when huge amounts of prisoners were taken.
So O'Connor is sending out reconnaissance prior to the launch of the campaign.
Yeah.
And they established that between, or there's a gap in the line. It's a funny place called Nibea or Nibea.
Nibea.
How's that spelled?
Nibewa.
Yeah, okay, so
Nibeva.
obviously if we were a local, we'd say it in some completely different way.
Yeah.
So basically our force, which is the 7th Tank Regiment, Royal Tank Regiment, is it the 7th Royal Tank Regiment?
It's the 7th, absolutely.
Yeah, and they break through at Nibea and they use their Matildas to spearhead the attack. They go through, they do a Rommel effectively, which is in they go and then they turn backwards.
Yeah, so you go through hard and fast in a small force and then you just turn around and annihilate from behind.
Yeah, and they very quickly took 2,000 to 3,000 Italian prisoners. The Italians pretty much collapsed quickly.
Yeah.
And they then had to decide what they were going to do next. So the breakthrough at Nibea, prisoners taken, and then the following day, so we've seen the attack launched on the 9th, the following day on the 10th, Sidi Barrani falls.
Yeah.
And O'Connor takes his advantage and moves left very quickly, passing Toumar, capturing that on the way, and getting on to Bardia.
Yeah, so at Bardia, the 6th Australian Division captured 40,000 Italian prisoners.
So what we've got is we've got the early successes, right? just taking it from a recce to a route now. The early successes are turning it into an operation, and they continue their advance. So we've got the fall of Bardia, the fall of Tobruk as well, and then basically the chase of the Italian army, the 10th Italian Army, across Libya.
So the Italians are retreating on the coast road. It's the only metalled road in North Africa, all the way from Alexandria all the way through to Tripoli, one metalled road. They're using that for their retreat. But the British forces have chosen to do a shortcut, and they go south of the Green Mountains called Jebel Akdar. And John Coombs, he's part of 7th Armoured Div, and he's using a flying column of wheeled vehicles to cut quickly. Column of wheeled vehicles to cut quickly.
This is Coombe Force, isn't it?
This is Coombe Force,
This is the
exactly.
famous Coombe Force.
It's Coombe Force, and he's cutting behind the Green Mountains, and his plan is to cut off the retreating Italians on the coast road at a place called Bedafom.
Right, so Coombe Force has blocked the coast road, and they're waiting for the Italians, effectively coming down from the northeast.
From Benghazi.
Down the coast road. The Italians are retreating. They're not expecting to see the British, and then, oh no.
Surprise, surprise.
Yes, and Coombe Force blocks the coastal road, and there is an engagement which finally sees the surrender of the Italian and destruction 10th Army.
And Bergonzoli, Electric Whiskers, this is where he's captured. And this is the end, really, of the Italian 10th Army.
So the Whiskers goes in the bag.
Yep. And then the Western Desert Force pushes forward a little bit further, but only as far as a place called El Aguila, just further west on the coast road. And it's there they stop because they are far away from they're on their culmination point. Their nearest deep sea port is Tobruk. They're also spent, they're exhausted. There've been this big chase across the desert. The Italians are completely done. They're not a fighting force anymore. So there's no real reason to do anything else rather than hold a line there. There has been an argument, why didn't they push on to Tripoli and just rout all of Libya?
Was it at this time that the Greek campaign was demanding extra resource?
Exactly. So there is, Wavell lost some of his force at request of Mr. Churchill to fight the Italians in the Greece campaign. Also, there's still the Italian East African campaign going on as well. And don't fall asleep again. And there is also the fighting in Syria as well. So there's these 3 different fronts that Wavell, as Commander-in-Chief of Middle East Forces, is having to support. So the North African El Aguila line is sadly depleted of its resources.
Yeah, so I would imagine if you were Wavell and you were looking at what you had left, having had this insistence from Churchill, knowing how far you were from, you referred to the culmination point, this is the end of the line for your supplies.
Yeah.
You're not going to be feeling as confident as O'Connor was dashing across the desert.
No, your supply line is huge.
Attack.
Yeah, you're out of supplies, your supply line is huge. So you are there, he's just resting on his laurels for a while. Join me, Richard Pinches, on an unforgettable battlefield experience. Come and walk in the desert and see for yourself the tough terrain fought over all those years ago. From the rugged hills in Tunisia to the open desert plains, I can take you to the famous battle sites for you to experience firsthand. Walk in the footsteps of Alexander the Great. Dive into Cleopatra's pool and have an ice cold in Alexandria. Go to westerndesert.co.uk and send an email for more details.
So, Richard, why do you feel Operation Compass actually mattered?
It was the first offensive battle that the Allies had, so it was a major kudos for them, and it was great press where they really needed a win.
And it demonstrated mobile warfare was really the buzzword of the desert campaign, wasn't it?
And you've got to pay some small tribute to Cleghorn Hobart for that as well.
Yeah. We mentioned him in an earlier podcast, didn't we? But Hobart had arrived in the desert.
Yeah. 1938, Cleghorn, Hobo, Percy, Hobo, Herb.
I think his name was Percy Hobart, folks. You heard it here first.
In 1938, it was Percy, Hobo, Hobart that actually turned around the Western Desert Force and made it the fighting machine that it was well renowned for. And it was his 7th Armoured Div success in Operation Compass.
Is that you stroking your fox? I assume you were actually referring to the arrival in February 1941.
12th of February.
Yeah, 12th of February, the Wüsten Fox.
Hitler sends his favourite tank commander to sort out the North African campaign because the Italians are completely messed up.
Johannes was his middle name, wasn't
Erwin.
he? Johannes Erwin. I think there's another name as well.
Whack him. No, it's Johannes Erwin. But it must be, if it's a W, it's a V. So it must be Irving.
No, you're wrong.
I am wrong. I'm
It's
quite likely I'm wrong.
Johannes Erwin Eugen, as in the Prince Eugen battlefield.
Eugen.
Battleship, Eugen Rommel.
Or the Desert Fox.
Wüsten Fox.
So yeah, but within landing, he lands at Tripoli, his only access to a deep sea port in Libya at the time. He launches an offensive within only 2 weeks of landing, which was a slight surprise to the British Army that expected him to build up his forces over 6 to 8 weeks.
Can I stop you there? Because our next episode of Desert Dispatches, which you have sort of slightly wandered into, is about Erwin Rommel. Rommel. Did I say Rommel or Rommel? So let's just talk about what history would have said about Compass, okay? And I think there's 3 points. I mean, it was seen as one of the most successful campaigns of World War II, undoubtedly.
Yeah, it was a much needed offensive victory for the Allies.
Yeah, certainly following in the steps of the Battle of Britain. It must have gladdened Churchill's heart to have had the second victory against the Italians.
Exactly, yeah. A much stronger force as well, so it was seen as a tremendous victory.
Yeah, but looking back, with the benefit of hindsight, which is obviously always easy, many historians debate why Britain stopped or why the British stopped. They could have taken the rest of Libya in 1941.
Yeah, there's always been the conversation, why didn't the Western Desert Force push forward to Tripoli and take the whole of Libya? Basically, it's the culmination point. They were overstretched from their nearest... Tobruk was the nearest deep sea port.
So I guess, in conclusion, the most important point, Richard, about this whole thing was it prompted the arrival. Operation Compass prompted the arrival of the Germans in the shape of Erwin Rommel and what was to become the Afrika Korps to join the Desert Campaign. And I think that's where we need to leave this particular podcast.
And it would become a huge tank battle for the next 3 years. It's all about tanks.
Thank you for listening. And if you'd like to like and subscribe, please click below. And in the meantime, thank you for listening to Desert Dispatches.
TTFN.
TTFN.
More tea, Ginger.
Thank you.